Hey guys, it's Courtney King with King Realty. I'm back in the office talking real estate from vacation. I hope you guys are having an awesome week. One thing that I wanted to make sure I addressed, because a lot of people aren't aware of this just from a property management or landlord perspective, and I wanted to break down kind of everything that you need to know with respect to security deposits. As of recently, I've had a couple of new investors that started to work with me, and they decided to rent their home out, and they had some questions that I'm like, oh, a lot of people probably don't know about this. So a couple of things. Let's talk about what a security deposit is. So generally a tenant will pay a security deposit along with their first month's rent, and the deposit is protection for the landlord, so that after they move out of the property, if there are any damages to the property beyond normal wear and tear, then the landlord can go to the security deposit as compensation to cover the costs of whatever needs to be done that the tenant caused, okay? So a lot of investors don't realize that security deposit, once it's paid, technically is not their money. Some investors are like, oh, I got the security deposit, let me go spend it. No, because it's not your money. We actually hold the security deposit in a totally separate account called a security deposit account. That's usually a best practice. So if you are a landlord and you're self-managing, it's a good idea for you to have that security deposit in a whole separate account, because again, it's not your money yet. So the next thing is let's talk about when you can actually touch it, because technically, while a tenant is in the property, you can't touch it, you can't spend it, you can't look at it. I'm just kidding, you can look at it, but you can't really do anything with it, okay, because it's not your money again. So the only circumstance under which you can start touching a security deposit is once a tenant moves out. Once a tenant has actually given you possession of the property. And I say that specifically because just because you're evicting a tenant doesn't mean that you have access to their deposit. While they're still in possession of the property, you still have to keep that to the side. But once you have taken possession of the property, whether they've turned in keys or whether you've formally evicted them, then that's when you can touch the security deposit. And so what you're required to do as a landlord is do an itemized breakdown of the final accounting charges and basically have a record showing how you use the security deposit. So for example, if a tenant moves out and there's holes in the walls that weren't there when they moved in, there are, let's say the pets got to the carpet, let's say, I'm trying to think of the most common things that I see, holes in the walls, carpet damage, let's say they didn't do any landscaping and so the yard is totally overgrown. Those are the kind of things that you can deduct from the security deposit. But two rules. One, whatever you deduct has to be beyond normal wear and tear. So I've gone back and forth with my attorney about this because it's a super gray area. Everybody's like, okay, well, everybody's definition of normal wear and tear is different. Yeah, I get that. So what my attorney said is basically, would this have happened with any other tenant? And so when you ask that question of damage to a property, then that's where you want to kind of assess, okay, would this happen to any ordinary tenant? So like if there's like huge gashes in the walls and stuff like that, then you definitely will want to document that and assess it on your final accounting. One thing or two things that we do that goes above and beyond, and this is just for the clients that we manage for, is we take a video of the property before a tenant moves in. We also take a video of the property once the tenant is out, and then we also take additional pictures, because what you're going to want to do is, along with the final accounting of all of the charges to their security deposit, you want to make sure that you have sufficient evidence backing up why you charged what you did. So that's number one. Number two, aside from having those charges all itemized, you have to provide that to the tenant within 30 days of them moving out. So we typically mail them via certified mail, and we email them just to ensure that they're getting it. But that has to be done within 30 days because I've seen cases through our E&O insurance basically that highlight how often landlords are sued because they don't follow proper protocol in assessing final accounting and security deposit refunds and all of that. Another thing that we do, which I think is a best practice for any landlord, is we send a whole move-out checklist to all of our tenants stating exactly room by room what they need to do to get their security deposit back. I tell our tenants all the time that if I can give you your full deposit back, I am gladly happy to do so, because that means that I can re-rent the property that much quicker. Another thing that we do for our tenants that you may want to do as a landlord is we offer to do a walkthrough with the tenant once we have their notice to vacate. And we do that because, again, we can point out exactly what the tenant's going to need to do so that there's nothing crazy, no unrealistic expectations on either part. And then it does allow me to kind of get a really quick eye on the property before the tenant moves out, so I can give our client, the property owner, a heads up on what we can expect in terms of the make ready, okay? But 2 keys: document, make sure it's done within 30 days. And then just make sure your tenants have a expectation of, what you expect of them when it comes to the move out process. It doesn't have to be ugly. I've seen it get ugly before. But again, as long as you provide your tenant with all the information that they need to make informed choices as to cleaning and all of that stuff when they move out, then everybody seems to be happy. One last thing that we do, as part of our lease agreement with all of our tenants, we do require that they submit paid invoices for carpet cleaning. That's one of the big ones that a lot of people get dinged on. The carpets were cleaned before you moved in. You can't leave them dirty and not expect that to be deducted from your deposit, but that is a requirement. And so if you're a landlord, you may want to add that to your lease, or at least consult with your attorney, because I'm not an attorney. I'm just going based on experience. But that's pretty much it. If you have any questions about security deposits or refunds or kind of best practices that we use on a daily basis, feel free to comment below. Share this video if you have a landlord that's self-managing that could really benefit from this information. And then don't forget to visit us, kingrealtytx.com, and I will see you guys soon. See you later.